Well, I have actually three favorite saints. So my patron is Saint Michael the Archangel. Very close to him, and certainly we need his help in this time where we see so much evil in our world. Saint Francis of Assisi is my confirmation saint. Great love for him, and also great devotion to Saint John Paul II. In fact, the Pope who named me a bishop. Pectoral cross that I am wearing was actually given to me by St. John Paul II when he was the Pope who named me a bishop. And there's a practice that you sometimes go over to thank the Holy Father for that great honor. And at that time, I had an audience with him. Some other bishops were present, and he gave us this cross as a gift. So actually, it's a relic because it was held by a saint. My Episcopal motto is from the book of the prophet Micah. Lord, how is it that we can show our love for you? And the Lord tells us we should love tenderly, act with justice, and it concludes with walk humbly with your God. So my motto is walk humbly with your God. The phrase or the word walk is very important in that phrase. Sometimes as we go through our lives and carry out our ministry, there is a tendency that we want to go at such a fast pace, but with the Lord by our side, we can slow down, we can walk in his presence. So I have to practice that a lot, to slow down and to walk, and then with humility, walk humbly. Humility is that beautiful virtue that allows us to know God's love for us and how dependent we are upon that love. Without the Lord, we can do nothing. So humility increases within us through that beautiful virtue that need to rely more and more on God. I sometimes joke that I chose walk humbly with God because my family and my good priest friends helped me to practice that humble part. Yes, when you become a bishop, you are entrusted with the pastoral care of a diocese if you're the ordinary. And, that involves a great deal. It involves the care, first of all, of the people of God, and in a special way, your closest collaborators, your care for your priests, also the deacons and the consecrated religious within the diocese. You're entrusted with the care and upkeep of the parishes and the schools, living out the current responsibilities, planning for the future. So it can be, as a bishop, you're called to teach and to sanctify and govern. And I think what comes naturally to us as bishops, because we're priests, is the teaching and sanctifying. The governing is a whole new experience, and it can be overwhelming unless you rely on God's grace, and also to surround yourself with the good lay people who have expertise in the areas that are so necessary. So I think initially the shock for me was the amount of time that was needed for governing. So I was auxiliary bishop in Philadelphia, my home diocese, and then was appointed to be the bishop of the diocese in Raleigh in North Carolina. And that was a very, very different experience for me because in Philadelphia, there was a very strong Catholic population. And in fact, it seemed like everything was Catholic, even the institutions. So many Catholic schools and high schools and cemeteries, Catholic nursing homes and facilities, everything was Catholic. When I went to Raleigh, it was very different. At that time, back in 2006, we were a small percentage of the population, the Catholic faithful, less than 10%. And the institutional church, the buildings, the Catholic buildings and all, were not as profound. But what I experienced in the Diocese of Raleigh was that another sense of the church, not just the institutional church, but the church as community. Many, many people in the diocese were not from North Carolina, so the diocese, the parish, became their home and their family. It is a diocese that continues, and certainly in my time too, it was amazing to watch the vibrancy, the growth in the diocese of Raleigh and many dioceses in the South. And so it was a big shift, but a diocese I came to love. Coming to Arlington has been a return to more of a Catholic institutional church. uh, with a strong community, but a little bit more familiar to me. But again, a beautiful diocese, vibrant, young, growing, great priests. So I've served in 3 different dioceses. Each one is unique, but all 3 have been a great blessing in my life. I first started thinking about being a priest when I was in high school, which was somewhat mysterious because no one in my family, on either side of my family, we had no one in the priesthood, no one in religious life. So I was like, I wasn't quite sure where this was coming from. One factor is that I had a lot of, there were a number of priests on the faculty at the high school that I attended. And my friends and I, we looked up to the priests. They were a big part of our lives. And I'll never forget one day as a junior in high school, out of the blue, one of the priests who I did not have in class, I wasn't quite sure he even knew me, but he called me over and he said, "Michael, can I ask you a question?" I said, "Sure, Father." He said, "Have you ever thought of being a priest?" And I didn't really want anyone to know I was actually thinking. I said, "Well," I said, "not really." And he said, "Will you do me a favor? Would you think about becoming a priest? Because I think you would be a good priest." Well, from that point on, I could not stop thinking about becoming a priest, and eventually reached the point I knew I would not be happy in life unless I more fully discerned that call. And that's why you enter the seminary. You don't enter seminary knowing you're going to be a priest, but to enter the seminary to discern if that's what the Lord was calling you to do. And I found out pretty early in life in the seminary that this was what I was meant to do. I felt such joy in pursuing that call. But I go back to that priest, though, and the thing I loved about him, I thought, like, I was only a junior in high school when he asked me that question. I thought the rest of my time at the school, I would have to try to avoid him every time I saw him coming, that he was going to keep asking me about being a priest. He never did. He only asked me one time. And that one time was the seed I think God used to allow me to hear his voice. And I was so blessed that that priest was at my ordination when I was ordained a priest and when I was ordained a bishop. My first 5 years as a priest, I was blessed and surprised. I guess there are two words I would use. I was hoping when I became a priest that I would be assigned to a parish, a city parish where it was a tight neighborhood and great pastor and a large parish. And it's exactly what happened. I couldn't believe it. I was assigned to a parish with over 3,500 families, 1,000 kids in the school, one of the best pastors you could ever find. I'm like, wow, this is great. Things go just as you want, I guess. And I was only there 2 years. And I received a call from the bishop's office asking if I would be interested in teaching high school. And I responded by saying, no, I would not be interested in teaching high school, but thank you for asking. And I thought that was the end of the conversation. But only a couple of months later, I got a letter saying I was assigned to teach high school. And I was like, wow, this is different than what I want or expect. And it was very, very difficult to change that assignment. But I ended up loving the assignment. And it was yet something I didn't think I could do or wanted to do, but yet God saw something I didn't see. And that's really how the rest of my priesthood has played out. Every assignment since then, has not been anything that I anticipated or expected or even wanted, but it's all worked out. And you just get to trust that sense that God has a plan. He's preparing you always for something else that he has in mind for you. And it's just a reminder for me to keep trying my best every day to say yes to God's will. We know that when we do so, it always leads to the joy we're seeking. Yeah, I am a big proponent of our Catholic schools. One reason is I was educated in Catholic schools from kindergarten to college, actually. And I just consider our Catholic schools such a treasure and such a gift where our students 5 days a week can come to a school surrounded by religious symbols, reminding them of God's love, where they can pray every day before every class, where there's a chapel or a place to be with the Lord, where they can learn about our faith, learn what it means to become a disciple, not just knowledge of the faith, but what it means to be a disciple, a follower of Christ, where we can stop a school day to have confessions heard or Mass celebrated. And so it is a great privilege for our Catholic schools to assist our parents in the formation and education of their children. They're the first teachers, but our Catholic schools are there to assist them in that vital role. And in my diocese, in the Diocese of Arlington, we are blessed with schools that are known for such strong Catholic identity and also excellence in education. We want to be great schools too. So I consider our Catholic schools treasures, gifts, blessings in our diocese, and thank our parents for their sacrifices and our teachers for their vocation. As chair for the Pro-Life Activities Committee, first of all, it's been such a great privilege to serve in that role, especially at a critical time in the life of our country. The mandate of the committee is to assist bishops individually and collectively in the celebration, protection, and defense of human life, the sacredness of all human life. And so the committee tries to do that in various ways, namely through education, the promotion of pastoral programs, providing resources that will assist bishops in their dioceses so they can share these resources with all those in the parishes and school, to help our bishops in advocacy, making sure that our voice is heard in the public. And so the role of the committee is to provide as much support as possible in this great mandate that we have all received, the protection of human life from its very beginning to natural death. The pro-life work is not only important, it is essential. Because why? It's a mandate. It's a mandate of Christ himself. It is the gospel. The gospel is the gospel of life. And Jesus says to me, you show and you reflect your love for me, especially as you show it and share that same love with the poor, the vulnerable, and those in most need. So the gospel of life, working on behalf of the most vulnerable, those in the womb, those who are suffering, those who are elderly, those who are dying. In all of those ways, we are living the gospel of life. So it's a mandate for all of us who profess Christ Jesus. We must strive every day to live, reflect, and celebrate the gospel of life. I'm personally engaged in pro-life work because it has deeply impacted my life as a high school student. I was a high school student when the horrific decision of Roe versus Wade and the legalization of abortion in our country. And I remember how sad and how dramatic that day was. And so from that moment on, I felt a deep commitment, a cause to be involved somehow, some way in overturning this horrific decision so that the most vulnerable, the child in the womb, would be safeguarded and protected. And so we do that, as we know, in three major ways, through prayer, through our own witness, and through advocacy. And the work is ongoing. Even though recently we celebrated the overturning of Roe versus Wade, returning the protection of life back to the states, we celebrated for a moment, but realized quickly that our work is only just beginning. And it's going to be a lifelong work for all of us. And so we can never tire of doing what the Lord has asked us to do, especially in defense of life. Yeah, as the chair of the Pro-Life Activities Committee, first of all, I guess I'm most thankful for the people with whom I've worked, the staff, the team, the executive director in that office. You see their witness, their zeal, their passion, their willingness to help. It's just so inspiring to see so many here at our Conference of Bishops dedicated to this great work and ministry. I think maybe three things actually that during my time as chair that stand out as something that I think have been most impactful is one, that our committee has been hard at work as these ballot initiatives have gone to various states, trying to learn best practices, trying to learn the challenges, the opportunities, ways that we can win these ballot initiatives, and providing hope even though sometimes we lose. In the end, we know we don't lose because we have the truth, so we'll never end up losing. The truth is victorious. Christ is victorious. So during my tenure in this work has been at a critical time in the life of our country. I've also witnessed the growth of a beautiful program, Walking with Moms in Need. It's a nationwide program and based on parishes of showing that pro-life work, of course, begins with the defense of life and the defense of the unborn. But pro-life work is also supporting life. And the Walking with Moms program is designed to help and support and assist moms who are in need of accompaniment for various reasons, and to reassure them that as we thank God for them choosing life, they will never be alone. That through our church, through our parishes, through our dioceses, we will be there for them. We will walk with them. We will provide whatever they need, financial assistance, housing assistance, basic necessities for them and their children. So to see how we as a church, dioceses throughout this country, so many parishes are walking with moms in need, what a beautiful witness to the gospel of life. There's also been, for me, a powerful experience to see also how Project Rachel has grown through our church, which is a beautiful ministry of healing to assist moms and dads who made the decision, unfortunately, to choose abortion, and then realize the great wound they have and how much healing is needed. And to see that ministry through retreats, through support groups, through the provision of so many different resources, again, reassuring mothers, fathers, that the church is with you. You will never be alone. And reassuring them that God's love and God's mercy are infinite and divine, and there's nothing we can do, no matter how serious. If we have a contrite heart and we desire to heal that wound and to begin anew, the Lord will allow us to do that. So great is His mercy, which is at the heart of Project Rachel.